Perfect. So as I was kind of leading into that QA, so it's almost like if you get the feel of those other two right before here, you're going to already have a feel for how this other one is going to look. So our 1099Q, our 1099SA, they all look very similar. They behave similarly. So the QA, distribution from able accounts. This is a newer form. The able accounts really didn't come about till relatively recently, speaking in general timelines of the IRS. It is that this is laid out the same, the payer or the recipient. That's pretty straightforward. Box 1 is the gross distribution paid to you from an ABLE account, means achieving a better life experience is what ABLE stands for. Achieving a better life experience, savings account. So any distribution from an ABLE account in 2018. It includes distributions, both qualified and non-qualified disability expenses, and any amounts distributed that the designated beneficiary tends to roll over to another account. So not program-to-program transfers. Box 2 is basically the earnings part of the distribution shown in Box 1 that are generally used to pay for qualified disability expenses or rolled over into another account within 60 days, aren't supposed to be included in income, although it may show up here on the form. So you'll hear kind of a similar repeating theme as far as how we talked about how the other two ones are, that we talk about distributions from very specific types of accounts. Basis in the distribution reported in Box 1, and Box 4 if it is a program-to-program transfer from this ABLE account to another ABLE account. If it's terminated in 2018, if that account was terminated, it has a checkbox here. And Box 6, the designated beneficiary is the individual named in the document creating the account to receive the benefit. So this one has like this big long explanation, even though it seems straightforward. You or the designated beneficiary can be subject to additional taxes or penalties on the Box 1 distribution, basically right here, if it's not really, the recipient isn't really supposed to be the designated beneficiary. So blank space here. We don't know what they can come up with in the future, but these are a specific type of an account, just like we saw with the HSAs are a specific type of an account. They each carry their own different forms in there. So that is that once you get the hang of even a few of these, you'll see most of them become pretty easy to follow, and you guys are totally empowered now that you've gone through so many of these different forms. You can start seeing the connecting threads between all of them. The last ones to leave you with, these are new ones. The 1099-LS and the 1099-SB are brand new forms. So I'm going to go and pop over here to another little item in here. So we see the 1099-LS, reportable life insurance sales. This is definitely a newer form as far as what this is. It's again the same sort of format. Luckily, the acquirer is now the person that's creating this, and the payment recipient is the one. So the acquirer is the one that's creating this form. The payment recipient is the one receiving this. So it is. Here's a little bit of. It may not be that you run across these all that often. This is the brand new one that was created for 2018. Is this form. So the payment recipient. This is some instructions that come out that kind of helped outline what's in here. If you're an acquirer of a life insurance contract or any interest in a life insurance contract on a reportable policy sale under 6050Y, you have to give this form. You have to basically receive this form here as part of the transaction. So amount paid to the recipient on the reportable policy sale under 6050Y. So this is newer. So it's not something that we maybe have as maybe the back of our head knowledge, like, oh yeah, I know what that is. The date of the sale. So a lot of this is straightforward in the sense of, what's in the boxes, but it's just a newer form that we haven't encountered before. The insurance company that bears the risk respect to the life insurance contract, that's the issuer name. And the acquirer's information contract, name, address, and phone number. So here's another one where we end up putting another piece of information with a name, address, and phone number on here. It basically gives you contact information who gives you direct access to a person who can answer the questions about the forms. So this is a kind of an interesting twist to the 1099s that we normally don't see. So that's the 1099-LS. Very similarly, we have a 1099-SB. So you'll see it's laid out very similar, except we have an issuer and seller in this case. So the seller is the person receiving the form. So if you are basically transferring your life insurance contract in a reportable policy sale under that 6050Y section, or you transfer to a foreign person under that 6050Y, then here becomes, the information's reported in here. So it's very simplistic in the sense there's not a lot of boxes. So the issuer's estimate of your investment in the contract, the surrender amount that you would have received upon surrender of the life insurance contract that was transferred, and then the issuer's information contact name, so that you can have somebody that you can contact and get information directly about this form. So these are newer, but just have them on your radar that we may start seeing some of them. It could be that they're low volume, but right now they've made them red line forms to be mailed in. So I think they weigh that later after some of these new ones come out, that if they don't get a lot of volume, then they turn them into fillable online. But that's the status of this form right now, just because it's basically relatively new. As we look at what we have to see with every single one of these is the 1096. The 1096 is with everything because it's like a cover page in a sense. It accompanies the 1099 forms that are provided to the Internal Revenue Service. It's a summary of all the forms that are attached to it. You have to use a separate 1096 for each type of form. Don't combine different 1099s on the same 1096. So you can have a whole bunch of 1099 miscellaneous forms, and you might have a 1099 interest form. You have to do two separate 1096s. One 1096 for all the 1099 miscellaneous, one 1096 for all the 1099 interest. As you can see, there's checkboxes for all kinds of different ones, even including our new ones on there. So one 1096 for each type. You can have multiples under that type, but one for each type. So if you're doing a 1099C, that has a separate 1096, then you would do another 1096 for the others and so forth. So you don't combine different types. You can't have one of these ever issued where you have more than one checkbox on the same 1096, basically. That would be what you're looking for. And you can have multiples because it even says in here, and this is pretty straightforward, who is it that's filing this? Contact information, employer or social security number, 3, total number of forms. So maybe you're doing 100 1099 miscellaneous, it'd be 100, so they know to look for 100 of them that will be attached and what type of form it is. But so multiples of the same type, but only one type for each one of these forms. And this is where, if you look, actually, because of the space involved, it says like where to file. You'll notice in here it'll actually give the different addresses, which we now have 3 different addresses in there. It'll have all those, so it'll say in there, okay, if you're in this state, this is where you send it to. If you're in this state, it goes here. So that just gives you where to file. And then all those myriad of different 1099s we just went through, which you wouldn't seem that be the case, but we touched on all these crazy different 1099s in here. So now you're armed with a ton more knowledge than you had even starting out at this moment. And just in case you need it, there is this wonderful form called an 8809. We covered this a little bit in part 1 as well, but what if you need a little more time? And this is not to give time to the person you're sending the 1099 to. This is give you time to send that to the IRS. You can get an automatic extension for filing. Now it's only 30 days, but Form 8809 has to be filed prior to the original due date in order to get the extension. So if your original due date is January 31st, you want to file the 8809 prior to January 31st in order to get that extension. In some hardship cases, you can get another 30 days after that. So that is a hardship case that, maybe something catastrophic happened, or it's your first time filing. That's actually considered a hardship in some cases. So and it says, there's a little spot here, you can't really read in the small print here. If you're requesting an extension for a W-2 or 1099 miscellaneous reporting NEC only, so I told you, look for the NEC, non-employment compensation, non-employee compensation, box 7 basically. Or if you check the box on line 5, you have to meet other criteria. So was there a catastrophic event? Was there a fire? Was there death or serious illness? It's a first year of establishment, so first year qualifies. That's that checkbox there. Or you didn't receive data in time. There's basically some some special rules in here that allow you a little bit of extra time. What type of form it is all goes in here that you get to have the extension of time on, and basically send that out, and that will give you a little bit more breathing room, not by much, but sometimes that 30 days can be everything if you don't have the information you need from a client or you are the company that's trying to create these. So lots of different forms. You can see there's some good ones on here that you can get some extra time on. So thank you for sticking through. There's a lot to this part 2. Basically, as we said earlier, this is a 3-part course. It's kind of like your whole comprehensive guidebook. But part 2, we just spent the past couple hours on, we look at all these different 1099 forms. So now, you've already been exposed to every single one of these 1099 forms. This is going to be like, oh, this is easy stuff, really. We know what the purpose of each of the forms are now. We have some instructions. We kind of get a feel for how to fill them out properly. Probably the most important thing is making sure that the person receiving it, that their social and name match. That can prevent most all of your errors, right, with that one single thing. We talked about the 1096 and how it is important that it is per each type of form, not the quantities per each one, but each different unique type of 1099 gets its own 1096, and that there is this beautiful 8809, which I see a lot of practitioners and preparers out there maybe don't know that it exists, so it can be very handy on occasion. We do cover a lot more in part 3, and if you didn't happen to catch part 1, go back and catch that too. We talk a lot about, the where to file and the how to file, like specifically how to fill out the numbers and what items you can and can't put on there. Talk about the red line forms and how they work. Part 3, we cover compliance and penalties and additional reporting. We look at how to correct those pesky 1099s when it doesn't work, like what are the void and the corrected boxes for and how do we utilize that. We look at W-9 forms, backup withholding, and even the new rate of backup withholding that came about because of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. B notices, we call them the dreaded B notices because when you get it, they can be a little bit of some hair pulling, but knowing what to deal with it makes that easier. And penalties as well as potential remedies. I'm working on, kind of an aside, a really big case now dealing with some substantial penalties, and it happens to be not 1099 but W-2 related. They are information reporting forms as well. So when everything works right, it's great. When it doesn't, then we have to deal with remedies. And, I did also cover what we cover in part 1 also in this listing here. So there's some really great material. We consider this a 4-part, fully comprehensive 1099 guide. So I definitely encourage you to go check out more of it so that you are very comfortable and very equipped with what to do with these 1099s, as sometimes they can be a little overwhelming for the clients and even for us practitioners. But just knowing what to do makes it easy to comply and to help our clients comply. So wanted to thank you for choosing to check out this whole entire course, and please look for a lot of those other ones that are out there that we've created just for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being on today. And again, check out these other links that we have for you. Visit Tanya's site, as she mentioned, the manuals there, as well as the other parts to this course. Tanya does a myriad of courses with us over at Canopy. In our courses section. We hope that you'll check those out as well. We appreciate you being on today, and we will look forward to seeing you again very soon.